Hey guys, welcome to the Diet Doc Life Mastery Podcast. I'm Joe Klemczewski, founder of the Diet Doc with Dr. Kori Propst, our health psychologist. And Kori wants to talk about my favorite topic, self-compassion.
So ooey gooey and
it
soft.
is. It's just a bad word. Although I will say it's definitely like you've had your way. It's caught on. Everybody in the world, every podcast I talked about, it's about self-compassion, self-compassion.
Yeah. Kristen Neff. Thank you, Kristen Neff, for getting out the good word. She's like the leading researcher on this. But you're not the only one, Joe, that feels like this is just, it's too...
Being a little bit, and it's not like I'm not a caring, ooey gooey, passionate person, but I think it's the self part. I'm still this like self-sacrificing, self-flagellating person who wants to know that I would rather die on the field than say I'm doing something for myself. Like I will die an empty, depleted, lonely person rather than saying, oh, but I loved myself. So fix me, Kori, fix me.
Oh, that's so funny. Well, like I said, I don't think that's an uncommon sort of stance to be taking. None of us want to appear selfish and like me. It's all about me. None of us, I don't think most of us want to appear that way. We want to appear like we're compassionate people and care about others. But can you do that? Can you do that motion you did in the beginning? Can you do that again? Like, can you do
I don't even know what I did.
I don't give myself hugs. Like
I can't. I didn't even know I did that. I cannot physically recreate that.
So Kristen Neff talks like it's really funny to listen to her describe how she speaks to herself, because I'm like, oh hell no. No, that's not what I do. She's just like, oh darling, I'm so sorry. It's gonna be like it is totally motherly and not me. It's not, and that's not a lot of people, but it doesn't have to be that way to be compassionate. And this is the whole point of this podcast, is that self-compassion has two forms to it. We tend to look at self-compassion as this very tender, very gentle, very loving way of being with ourselves. And research shows that there's value to that. We don't get much energetic value and motivation from blasting ourselves. You stupid idiot. Why did you do that? Again, what the hell is wrong with you? Like, that sort of approach isn't effective. It's not skillful in moving us towards right action, towards, behaviors that we can be proud of and that have positive momentum behind them. So she also, when she's like, we can put our hands over our hearts and we can give ourselves love and we can touch ourselves in a very sort of kind way.
I might have seen this now that you mentioned that. I think I've seen that, yeah.
Also, not necessarily the way that I operate personally. I have tried it. And this is what I would suggest to some, like, if you're like, oh my God, that's not me either. Just be willing to, again, go to previous podcast, open the door just a tad. There is one way in which I can offer myself physical touch that moves me in that, like, now I can relax. Now I don't feel threatened, sort of a way. And that's to put my hands on my face. There's no hugging myself. Putting my hand over my heart doesn't really do anything for me. But this I think, Joe, brings me back to when I was a child. My mom would do this. And even in like, I can look back at previous relationships in my life where I crave this. I want this. This is just like the safest, most loving thing you could do for me.
I'm going to try that on some people today. Let's see what happens.
Pay attention. Like, do it in the right sort of
like
circumstances.
stranger
Like,
on the street.
don't try to do it. Like, if Tracy's angry, like I say that, and I don't know if Tracy gets angry. But don't try to do that when she's
I wouldn't
angry.
get close enough to her. I would probably die.
Okay, so the two sides: soft, gentle, warm, kind. Then there's the fierce, assertive kind. Kristen talks about the yin and yang of self-compassion, but we mostly just hear about the yin, right? Not many people are talking about the yang side. So,
especially since they pronounce it yang.
Listen to Kristen. I go by the way Chris.
It's new to me. I'm gonna change now because you said that. I've never said it that way.
That does sound more masculine. Yang rather than yang.
Have you seen the show The Americans on?
No, you've mentioned it to me before. I haven't. Why?
You're reminding me. I won't spend more than a few seconds discussing this, getting you off topic. But so these Russian spies that are in America and they're raising these kids, and part of the story arc is that the dad, the father, the husband is kind of becoming less and less okay with just killing people and being a spy and living the secret life. And yet the woman, wife, mother is still like totally devoted to the homeland, the motherland, and doing things right. And so she is the cold disciplinarian with their children, especially like, we are going to raise our kids this way and he's the other way. And what you're describing is a perfect picture of those two sides. That you really need a good balance of both if you're going to be successful, not just in parenting, but in parenting yourself, which is a phrase I know you like.
I do. Reparenting, basically. And it does need to include the two faces of self-compassion. Now, the yang / yang of self-compassion is not in any way like authoritative. Is it authoritative or authoritarian? I always get the two mixed up. One's good and one is not good.
Well, authoritative is just kind of strong. Authoritarian is like a monarch ruler.
Authoritative. That's more the yang side. Okay, so imagine this. You're arriving home at the end of the day, right? And you're tired. Like I've told this story before, but you're tired. You've had a really long, arduous day. And, you're hungry and you've already, on your drive home, you already planned like what you wanted to have for dinner. And, you get home and guess who made dinner for you? Your partner made dinner for you. And it's a lovely gesture, right? But you'd already decided that you were going to eat something else. You had it planned in your mind. You knew how your evening was going to look. Like, how many of us get home and we're like, this is what I'm going to do tonight. And you are like, you shouldn't have done that. Why can't you just ask me before you cook something? Boom. In that moment, if that were me and that spewed out of my mouth impulsively, I immediately feel awful. I feel ashamed. And now I'm, as Brene Brown would say, there's a shame storm going on within me. So then what happens amidst this shame storm is that really harsh inner critic comes in and says, you're such an ungrateful idiot. What is wrong with you? He's just trying to be kind. Like, you're so stupid. So if I were to approach this situation, with the yin compassion, it would look like choosing something tender and loving to say to myself. Like, you've had a really hard day, Kori. You're not at your best right now. Forgive yourself and say you're sorry. So that's not Kristen's way of saying, oh, sweetheart, it's okay. Like, you've had a hard day. Like, the tone is even more sort of assertive for me. And that's helpful for me. It's going to take a different flavor for everyone. So that's the yin version, which is, it looks like loving, connected presence. So like, if that happened and I called you on the phone, Joe, and you were like, dude, you had a hard day. Like, forgive yourself right now and go tell Ben you're sorry. He was do something kind for you. You wouldn't be like, oh, sweetheart, it's okay.
You're exactly right. That would not happen.
So here is what the young version would look like. It's assertive, and it's almost appropriately demanding that you show up differently now. So the young side says you need to apologize immediately. This is not the self that you want to come out right now, Kori. Like, go take responsibility. And so it incites action. The yin side is connected, loving presence within, and the yang side is go take immediate, appropriate action right now and take responsibility for what you said. Both are compassionate. One's asking you to stand up for yourself inside, and one's asking you to stand up and take right action outside, right? Take responsibility.
Do you feel that both of those, it's healthy to understand both and express both, or are you saying that in different contexts, like one kind of leads, or
I think in different contexts one might lead, because you may have done something that wasn't personally responsible, but maybe didn't necessarily affect anyone else. And in that sort of situation, the yin is going to come in handy, but so is the yang. Take right action for yourself.
Yeah. Ultimately, you're saying you want both. You want to have that self-compassion, that forgiveness, self-acceptance.
They work together. But
then do the action that makes sure you repair that moment.
They work as a team. They are partners. Yeah.
Yin and yang.
It's kind of like you and I. You know, I can do my own thing. You can do your own thing. We can both do our own things really well. But when we come together, it's like magic.
and it's yang in Indiana, yang in California.
Of course it is.
Put it that way. All right, Kori, this is awesome. This kind of back to back. I think the last podcast we did was incredibly important too, learning commitment and kind of being selfless. And now putting this together with that is giving us some things to think about this week.
That's what it's all about, right?
All right, guys, we will see you next time in the Diet Doc Life Mastery Podcast. Feel free to drop a review. Let people know that this is worth their time as well. We appreciate that, and we'll catch you next time.